You can hear the noise in the background. We're live here at Mountain View Elementary School at the Alleghany Highlands Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. School board's candidates fall. And to my left is David Crozier, Vice Mayor of Covington, who's going to be the moderator. Welcome again, David. You weren't initially scheduled, but we were delighted, especially with your performance on Monday. The crowd enjoyed it, and you have a way of keeping it.
I'm not sure if delighted's a word, but they got desperate, and they know I have no life, and had time, and had an extra sports coat, and here I am. Glad to be here for it.
And by the way, those are exceptionally nice comments that you made at City Council last night. I don't think the city manager was expecting to get that kind of praise. None of us ever praise him that much, but you know it.
You know, he spends so much time giving kudos to reviews, and everything that he's been through the past couple of months, I figured it was time that he knows, if nothing else, how I felt. And I know there's a lot of people in the community who feel that same way, and I hope they take that opportunity to express their appreciation for him as well.
Well, folks, we're wasting a bit of time here because we're a bit anxious to make sure that the broadcast is going to come off the way we want. And City Council last night was particularly interesting. The mayor spent, what did you say, 3 or 4 minutes trying to explain why you guys need more money. And when he got done, I thought, Howard, even with the money that you're expecting to get, how is that going to pay those multi-million-dollar bills you guys are expecting?
Yeah, you know, that's the $50,000 question.
It's a $200,000
question, or depending on what you're talking about, $8 million question. There is so much that got kicked down the road, and I don't like throwing anybody from the administration under the bus, but things that should have been done in the 80s and 90s weren't. And eventually, sometimes you got to pay for the party. And there's a point with water and sewer and infrastructure and paving and everything else that's coming on. And that's just the additional stuff. That's not, if you think your gas went up, imagine how many diesel it takes to buy for a trash truck. All the gas and requires for police patrol. So just on the daily side of it, cost of
You guys did a good job of explaining that last night. And for that, you will probably have some strong words aimed at you at Food Line and Wildlife.
There's not a time I go that there's just or church or work or just about anywhere else. And some of us are my wife. So, but she said she's got a license to do it.
Well, we're fortunate tonight. We've got John Littleton, Bob Olmstead, and Richard Shaw. John's an incumbent school board member, Richard a former school board member, and Bob Olmstead is a former Clifton Forge County council member. So it's not like these guys are new to the league.
Right. This is going to be good tonight. There are 3 really good candidates out there. And if I was a voter in the county and to go to this, it would be hard to choose between 3. It's a good problem to have 3 really quality candidates come out and go out for an office. I wish we'd see it more in every office.
Well, before we start our broadcast, it's coming up in 3 or 4 minutes. We want to point out that it is Tuesday, November 7th. And for those of you who go normally vote, let me throw out this. Apparently, the school board's budget is in excess of $47 million annually. Now, that shouldn't be enough to make anybody vote, but whoever wins this particular seat will be 1 of 7 on that school board. These are the people that say they're going to have a track or not. These are the people that buy the uniforms. These are the people that pay the teachers. So this is a really serious deal tonight, and we have a serious moderator to keep us all straight.
We've got, you talk about school board what's coming up. We've got a great momentum going on with the school board now with the consolidation and the support of the community. My goodness, I mean, it's going to be blue everywhere you go.
Downtown Covington.
Downtown Covington's looking forward, people's houses. I mean, it's great to see all this blue out, and whoever wins is going to be a part of making sure that sustains in the future with this consolidation and working together in the future.
Well, thanks very much for joining us in the pre-show, and good luck with the forum tonight.
Oh, thank you.
See you all at 5:30. The sound is on. It's live, Bob. I just want you to know. Okay. Yeah, good luck to you, bro. Yeah, we are live. Yep. We're waiting for the school board forum to begin here at Mountain View Elementary, and the candidates will be taking their seats anytime.
I'll give about 2 minutes. Let me go ahead.
So wherever you want to sit in the middle, you're on the school board.
Ready to shoot?
That's not my case, because my wife told me, I expect you to get up and leave at that.
I was as well.
For the whole
Very,
country.
very, very disappointed.
Good evening, and welcome to the Candidates Forum for the Alleghany Highlands School Board. We appreciate your attendance here this evening, and thank you, candidates, for your participation. We appreciate the Alleghany Highlands School Board and Assistant Principal Amy Dew for allowing us to use the Gleason Hall this evening. We would also like to thank Mr. Jerry Stoll for providing sound and lighting assistance, as well as the Covington Women's Club for serving as the review panel. A a special thank you to the Alleghany Journal for live broadcasting tonight's forum, as well as offering a post-event video so those unable to attend in person may view the proceedings this evening. I'd also like to thank Susan Nick for organizing the event and Kathleen Hall for serving as our timer this evening. We ask that everyone silence your cell phones at this time. And now it's my pleasure to introduce David Crozier, who's going to serve as our moderator this evening.
Thank you. Again, thank you and good evening for being here with us this evening. Our candidates, starting at my right, your left, Bumstead. We've got incumbent John Littleton and challenger Richard Shull. And being in these myself, of all the campaigning you do, this is probably some of the most difficult things you will do in a campaign is answer questions. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here and participating. A few rules before we start. When we start, each candidate will have 1 minute to do a brief introduction, and then we'll move to the question and answer portion of the forum. All questions must be submitted to the review panel, and no questions are going to be asked from the floor. Now, I was told that we have had a lot of questions submitted this evening. We are going to try to get to as many of them as possible. We've got a captive audience here, so we're going to try to ask them and put them on the spot as much as we can this evening. Once we get to the question and answer portion, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question, and we're going to stick to that pretty strictly. The timer, Kathleen will raise her hand when you have 30 seconds remaining, and then she'll stand up when your time is up. At the conclusion of the question and answer portion of the forum, each candidate will have 3 minutes to wrap up, present final statements before we close for the evening. So, if everyone's ready, let's get started. We'll start with you, John. Give us your opening statement.
I want to thank everybody for coming here today, and thank David Crozier and everybody else. My name's John Littleton. I was born and raised here at Alleghany, Highlands. Went to high school at Alleghany High School, elementary school at Falling Springs Elementary. Then went on to engineering school at West Virginia Tech, where I got my bachelor's of science in civil engineering. After that, I came back home, where I worked for my family business. We basically do water treatment and wastewater treatment projects throughout the state of Virginia for municipalities. Sorry, the hand. But enjoy working and trying to serve my community, and I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity.
Okay, Richard.
I'm going to use some of my time to tell a story. When I did my interview with the Journal, with Jerry Clark, I went home, and when the interview was aired, my wife asked me, she said, well, how do you think, after she viewed it, how do you think your interview went? I think it went okay. She said, do you think you forgot anything? I probably did, because I've never done one of those before, so I probably did forget something. She said, you didn't think to mention you had a family? So I have to give my obligatory family. I'm married to my wife, Tiffany Shaw. She works at West Rock, and I have two twins, Jack and Faith Shaw, and they attend Covington Middle School. Jumping into why I'm running, and that's what it's all about. It's the reason it hurt me to forget the kids, because my kids and everybody else's kids is what it's about. Putting kids first. And that's one of the main reasons I got into wanting to be on the school board, is with the job that I do now, I see so much horrible things that happen to kids, and I hear so much horrible things that happen to kids. I felt like to keep my own sanity, I had to do something to help, to give back, to hopefully help any kid that I possibly can, and that's why. And then the school board position came open, so I tried once, didn't get it, and the second time, the first vote after the. I'm sorry. Thank you.
just remember you've got 3 minutes at the end.
Okay.
Bob?
Yep, good to see you people. Thank you for coming out. My world's pretty simple. School board is the next thing for me to have to deal with or be on, because I figured it out today. I'll be 76 on October 15th, or 77 as Debbie reminded me. I've been involved in public education, either going to school, teaching at college, or going to college for 71 years. I understand education better than anybody I know. I can work with kids or anybody that needs help. I was fortunate. We moved here in '83, October 13th. We've been here 40 years. We live in the same house. We raised 6 kids. They all have some sort of professional background, whatever. They're very happy. I just like working with kids. That's the bottom line to me. And the more trouble a kid has, the more I'm going to work with them and help them to solve problems. I think one of the neatest things I figured out the other day is I had 31 kids who were either kicked out of school or ran out of school.
Bob, time's up.
Okay. Remember where I was, somebody, that I was 31 kids. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. And let's get started with the question and answer portion. We'll start with Richard.
She's the one that stands up. I stop.
According to the Department of Education's last published report, Virginia average teacher pay is $6,468 below the national average. This ranks Virginia at 25th in the country for teacher salary. How will you work to raise teacher compensation for the teachers in the Alleghany Highlands?
The school board doesn't really have authority for taxation as far as how to, where the money comes from to fund teacher salaries. I am a big advocate to show appreciation to our teachers. Luckily, Governor Youngkin had, in his biennial budget, has appropriated $54.6 million from the general fund to give teachers and other school staff a 2% raise starting January 1, 2024. And that's on top of the 10% raise that for teachers that the governor has proposed last year. We need to show more appreciation for our teachers. In law enforcement, people say that we are the tip of the spear because we're down in the trenches keeping people safe on a daily basis. And I would say that the teachers, they're probably the tip of the glue stick. I mean, because they're every day in the classrooms with the boogers, the tears, the bullying, the boyfriend-girlfriend drama. They see it and hear it every day. And we need to show appreciation for our teachers. And the best way I can see to show appreciation is to be an advocate for teacher pay, because we need to retain the great teachers that we do have, as well as do everything we can to recruit new teachers to come to our area. I know that housing is a big problem in our area. We have the apartments coming next to the YMCA. Some of them are open, the way I understand. Some of them are open now, actually filled. And hopefully the word will get out once we get our school system up and running. That the word will get out that we in Alleghany County, we take care of our teachers. But do I think it's going to happen overnight? It's probably going to take a while because we have to work out the kinks in our school system. But I do think we need to show appreciation for our teachers.
Okay, thank you. Bob, how will you work to raise teacher compensation for the Alleghany Highlands teachers?
Well, I think the community has to understand that the teacher's compensation is far lower than was ascribed to us. That's $6,000 is counting Northern Virginia everywhere else. We're probably closer to $2,000, $3,000 below that. As a president of the Teachers Association for years, in 2008, basically the government put a freeze on hiring, giving money for teachers, or anybody. They would give us $3,000 and the school had to match it. The school couldn't, so we didn't get it. So we've gone years without an increase in pay. I think somebody has to convince them, if you're not going to give us more money, then stop piling more work on us. Be more due diligence in what you're giving us to do. Don't give us work when we don't have time to do it. I did a survey when I was here with the teachers, and I asked them on a weekly basis to write the number of hours they did work at home. In 2010, the average time was 17 hours at home after school doing work. They're not paid for that. There are creative and imaginative ways to help teachers. I think our main concern here should be finding teachers and getting them that are certified, especially to teach special ed. We're struggling. We are literally struggling to find teachers to work here. So we have to do something as a community to help the people want to come here. Because I'm fairly well known in this part of the state as an educator, teachers have called me, Umstead, I'd love to come to Alleghany. What's it like now? I said, well, come out and I'll show you. They come out, I don't hear from them again. They don't think it's as beautiful a place as Debbie and I do. Money's not our answer to any problem we have. But for new people starting out, money is a problem. So we have to become very creative and solve the problem. You can sit down now, I'm done.
Okay, John, how will you work to raise teacher compensation for teachers in the Alleghany Highlands?
I'm always for better pay for our teachers. This past year, we had some of the best raises that we've given that I've heard in the past 30 years from one of our employees. I'd like to see that again. Unfortunately, inflation's been rising as well throughout the whole country, and unfortunately, with the inflation, just the price of everything goes up. And I won't disagree that we do need to give more money for our teachers. But at the same time, too, like Mr. Schultz said, the majority of all of our money comes from the state, and they allot what they can will give us. The other way we can get this money is by locally fundraising or by more higher local taxes. And I'm not necessarily against that, but at the same time, too, there are so many people in our area that are on limited incomes. It makes it very difficult for them if we tax them at a much higher rate. But I do support more money for the teachers. We did it this past year. Hopefully that helps. But as far as like special education goes, like Bob was talking, we give incentives for that, and also for like science, there's a $5,000 bonus if you're going to be a special ed teacher. Also, too, we're trying to get more creative with some of the transportation problems we're having right now, as in being the busing, that we're always having trouble with bus routes. I proposed this week to Superintendent Halterman that we try to do like a $200 a month bonus possibly to to bus drivers that have perfect attendance. That way we don't have as many substitute drivers. I think that would be possibly a great thing. Some other counties are doing that. We also have trouble with activities and bus drivers with that. I'd like to see possibly, if any of the teachers would like to be interested or coaches would be interested in possibly driving a bus, that they could get paid for, their normal service and that on top. But these are possibly ideas that we could use to try to have more employees for us.
Okay, next question. This time we'll start with you, Bob. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Alleghany Highlands Public Schools School Board?
Oh, Lord, yes. There's a number of particular issues, but the one that's dearest to my heart. In the 52 years I've taught, I've dealt only with handicapped kids. I have a special place in my heart for dealing with them and having them to be successful. I mean, I can fingerspell, I know sign language, I know Braille. I can do a lot to help handicapped people, and I have in the past. But it's really bizarre. I have other school systems contacting me to do that, but not ours. I find that interesting or depressing, one or the other. My heart's with the handicapped kids. My feeling is if we teach the handicapped kids and make available what's available to them, should be to them, the regular kids will fall in place. I told a story to Jerry the other day about I have a special ed class here, and every day we'd eat lunch, regular ed kids would want to eat with us. They became friends. They go to school together. They help each other. I think we have to spend more time teaching kids how to get along with each other. And I think we're doing that right now with the merger, because when I hear there's very few, if no problems at the high school. That's good. That is good. We've had handicapped kids that wrestle. Why? Because they started out here in a comfortable environment and did it. We've had them be managers and a lot of other things. if you touch the heart of a handicapped child and their parents, it'll touch the heart of the community and make things better. Because in my opinion, as handicapped kids go, so goes your school system. And it'll help a lot. I made a statement, I never failed an SOL test and never wrote a kid up. In the 40 years I was here, that's still true. I never ever did that. Because there's always a way to solve a problem if you want to solve it and have the patience. And to me, being a special ed teacher and a teacher period is patience. So the protective teachers, I would like to see them have their work cut back so they don't have to do all the things they do. Because you guys are clueless to the work piled on a teacher, whether regular ed or special ed, day in and day out. Thank you. Sorry.
John, is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Alleghany Highlands Public Schools School Board?
Yes, there is. It started off as one and it went to another. Some people know I do have a nonverbal autistic son at 7 years old. Back up a little more. My grandmother was an educator here in the Highlands for 30 years. My mother was an educator here for over 20 years. My brother's currently a principal in Williamsburg. Well, one weekend my brother was in. We were talking about the school system. He told me I need to be on the school board. And I said, that's not a bad idea. Well, 2 days later, I seen in the paper an advertisement for the Falling Springs district, and I felt like it was a greater voice talking to me. I am a Christian. And so I applied, got on. That was my motivation to start with. After I was been on the board, I realized that I had a special set of skills that helped the system. Me being a civil engineer and running a construction company and project management has helped the system, I believe, with their capital improvement projects. I'm happy to say that I've saved the school system close to $1 million since I've been on this board. I'd like to try to overlook a lot of these things. Just this past meeting, I was appointed to be the overall capital improvement projects for the board to look over them. And I enjoy looking over those. I always want to make sure that all of our projects are bonded. So that means that the contractor that's doing the job has to perform. If not, the bonding agent pays for it. So it's basically an insurance company for the project. Those set of skills that I have, I think it really helps. I also too just want to try to be a good public servant. I'm doing this for the kids and my child and every other child that has special needs, because I've really enjoyed since I've been here trying to help those children. Thank you.
Richard, is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Alleghany Highlands Public Schools School Board?
I guess the answer is no. There's no one particular issue because all the issues are important. I mean, we're dealing with our kids' education and every kid's education. To say there's one specific reason that gained my interest in becoming a school board member, no, because I can assure you, if elected to the school board, every day, every meeting that I attend, I will go in the meeting and I will listen to every issue that's brought up and deal with it with my heart. I mean, I can't say that there's one specific issue that tugs at my heart that this is the reason why I want to do the school board, because I will approach all the issues from my heart and speak from my heart on all the issues. But before, and I don't want to forget, and I feel like I glossed over it, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but we just spoke a little bit earlier about teacher pay. And it's not just about teacher pay. They're very important, but it's other staff. Custodians, Mayor Irvin, he's back there. Custodians, bus drivers, all school personnel are important, and all their financial, their money's important. And as far as, I'm sure there's parents here that are tired of hearing, getting that automated phone call about this bus can't run, that bus can't run for whatever reason. And an idea in law enforcement we have is when we hire people, we'll have them sign a contract and we'll send them through a law enforcement academy, and then they will work for us. Once they get that training, they'll work for us for so many years. So that it's an idea that we could do that with school bus drivers. We hire you on contingent upon, and you get your CDL license, But once you finish your CDL certificate class, I think it's class A to drive a school bus, I'm not sure on that, then you sign a contract with us for 4 years. You give us 4 years, and then you can move on to do whatever or stay.
Okay, and just as a reminder to the candidates, watch the hand. When the hand goes up, you've got 30 seconds. I don't want Kathleen to storm the stage. Next question. We'll start with you this time, John. How would you address concerns about school safety and security?
School safety and security is a number one priority. It ranks at the top. Our children are our future. They're everything to us. Security needs to be top notch. I'm very proud that in this area that we have SROs at every school. I know when the merger happened, that was one thing that was concerning, and I remember I got on the board right when the consolidation agreement was made, and that was one of the first things we talked about. And I remember going to Sheriff Hall and to Chief Smith and saying, are we still going to have these for every school? So I said, oh yes, that's number one important thing to know. All other safety, as far as safety stuff on the buses, having good equipment there, keeping just normal safety things as much as, keeping the floors clean is very important. But yeah, safety's a number one priority for everything for our children.
Okay. Richard, how would you address concerns about school safety and security?
We have great SROs at all our schools. They're well trained in tactics. They can active shooter training quite often, so they're well trained. As far as in my opinion, you don't want to have so much security in the school to where your schools feel like a prison. I mean, you don't want metal detectors going into all our schools. Would it be beneficial? Probably, but it just wouldn't seem like the right thing to do, because what message are you sending to the kids that are coming into the school every day that everybody's got to walk the metal detector to go in? But so I'm sure there's ways to improve school safety and school security, but and I feel that we do a lot to keep our schools safe with our SROs, and they're great individuals. Their heart's in the right place, and they're well trained.
Okay. Bob?
Yes.
How would you address concerns about school safety and security?
Well, I think this is one of the topics I think the school system does extremely well with. I've heard stories that they've had trouble on buses, so they're paying teachers a certain amount of money to ride the buses with the kids to make them safer. If things like that are available, that's fine. I've been in every building in this county this year at least once, received by the resource officer, ask me why I'm there, tell them. Very friendly environments. I also think it's an environment where the resource officer's there that the kids feel safe, which is another thing that adds to the quality of education. I think what we're doing is well. If a bus that goes through Sharon needs an aide on it or assistant, I think we'll put them there. I think parents feel comfortable when they're communicated of what's going on. Because the question I hear the most, I'm saying I don't understand what they did, I like what they did, but no one told me what it was. I kind of get that. I worked here for years. I didn't understand everything they thought they told us. Communication is the most important thing we have. They had a problem at water issue here and at Mountain View. Sent the kids home. They sent a text, an email, and a phone call. Let the parents know the kids are coming home around noon. Good job. Communication, to me, solves 99.9% of the problems. But in communication, if you're the giver of the communication, you have to be the receiver of listening when people need help. And I think sometimes there's where we lack a little bit. We're good at telling people what to do, but we're not listening at their interpretation of what we do. I think my kids went here for years, been here for 40 years. I think Allegheny County school systems and Covington's are a safe place to be.
Okay, next question. Richard, let's start with you. Understanding the inefficiencies created in the name of politics in the areas of transportation and teacher utilization of making Covington High School the middle school, are you prepared to correct the building utilization plan by making Clifton Academy the middle school again and utilizing Covington Middle School as the central office / academy in the name of what's best for our children, as well as the more efficient use of tax dollars? Why or why not?
Wow, it's a mouthful. I got to try to digest all that now. So we're talking about changing the middle school, the current middle school, and bringing it back here to Clifton Academy.
Yes.
It's a good idea. This school is definitely more modern. It's definitely newer, so I have no problem with that. I know that the Covington Middle School does have deficiencies as far as, I've been in, I've toured it, we have chalkboards in some of the classrooms and things like that, and there's some infrastructural issues, but being fiscally responsible, it probably would be good. I'm going to go on record, yes, it'd be a great idea to move the middle school back here.
Okay, Bob, I'm going to shorten this.
Please do.
Are you in favor of returning the middle school to this building and utilizing the old Covington High School building as a central office or as an academy?
And that made it shorter? Okay.
Yes.
I sat it down at the county building about a year ago when they were making and appointing school board members. And one of the people on the board of supervisors asked me a question. If you were appointed, would you have moved to Covington? The person asked me was Cletus nicely, and I answered him as simple as possible. No, I wouldn't have. My thoughts have not changed. I have a granddaughter there. She loves it. I'm looking at safety precautions, time and distance traveled, a lot of other things. I know that it's a political issue with a lot of people. It's not with me, it's the kids. We left a building here that's fully occupied with a sprinkler system. We left a building here that has 59 classrooms. No one has to share. We left a building here where the bus loop pickup was made for picking students up here. We left a building here where the only way to get here is to cross that bridge right over there. So I still stick to the same thing I said before. I think it could have been communicated better, worked with the people at the middle school, to talk to them, to see what they wanted to do, to come up with some middle ground where we could have worked together. There was no middle ground. It was either yes or no. Well, if you're asking me, I would vote no. We would stay, we'd come back here.
Okay.
Thank
John, would you vote to return the middle school to this building and utilize Covington High School building as an academy or central office?
This is a very complex question. I'm not against the idea. I'm really not. The part that gets me with it all is with the process and the last time at one of our last, it's been a while, but before this year started, everyone was discussing things, and I made the comment, and my public comment was that we're asking all these questions about, how can these change? And I asked the question, what would change? What would we see differently? Would our funding be hurt? I talked to a couple of people in the city. Some people told me, said, no, I wouldn't do anything like that. Another one told me, said, yeah, you're cutting the school out. I'm for cutting their funding in half. And I would be fine to support the move as long as funding's not hurt. But if funding is affected, I do not want to cut $1.5 million out of our budget to change the building. Our children need, and our teachers need every dollar we can for them and to be able to provide the best we can, because unfortunately, money does run things sometimes. And it takes money to get people there, to give children the supplies they need. And I don't want to shortcut what the children need because we want to change a building. But at the same time, too, like I said, I'm not against it as long as we have the funding. Thank you.
Okay, next question. We'll start with Bob on this one. Teachers work hard each day. What will you do when a parent contacts you with a rumor or incorrect information? What steps will you take according to policy?
Contact me about what, the teacher?
If you hear a rumor or incorrect information, how will you process it and what steps will you take?
Well, the history that I had when I did it here, I would contact the parent and ask them if they've talked to the teacher. If they have not talked to the teacher, I'm done talking to them. Because I didn't want to use my position or anything I did to manipulate a teacher or anybody else. I would gladly be a third party to sit down and discuss the problem with them. But I think it's important that we communicate. 9 times out of 10 when I worked with a parent, by the time we got done, probably 7 out of 10, the parent realized that they might not have got the right information from their kid, number one, or number two, they misunderstood what took place. When you're in a classroom with 25 or 30 other kids, you're going to make a mistake. Lord knows you're going to make a mistake. But I don't want to handcuff teachers so that they don't do their job. I'm going to protect the teacher and the child, and I've told this to parents. I've told parents sometimes they're just dead wrong. You're not doing what's right by your kid. Some of them get mad, some of them don't. My concern is the child. The child is always going to be my concern. I think sometimes parents judge a teacher by what their child tells them, and when they come to school, child's right. Teacher can't even defend themselves. I don't think that's right either. I don't think any teacher comes here to want to abuse a child. Thank you. I'm done.
John, you're contacted by a parent with rumor or incorrect information. What will you do and what steps will you take according to policy?
All right, well, first off, when I'm contacted by a parent, the first thing I do typically is talk to the superintendent, because that's my first contact. From there, I can talk to the teacher, or typically I'll go to the building administrator after the superintendent. But most of the time, when there's an issue like that, I'll talk to the superintendent. Most of the time, the superintendent and the school will put together a team that will address it. I will be involved, happily be involved with it, to try to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Thank you.
Richard, a parent contacts you with a rumor or incorrect information. What will you do if that happens, and what steps will you take according to policy?
It's going to depend on the rumor. I don't typically deal in rumors. I would ask whoever brought this information, this rumor to me, where did it come from? Where did you hear it from? It would depend on the severity of the rumor. Of course, if there's a rumor of a child being hurt or neglected, that's pretty serious, and I'll follow up with that. But if it just depends on the severity of the rumor. If it's just, well, I'm not going to tell you where the rumor came from, and we don't deal with that. I need to know, where did the rumor come from? What's the origin of, where's this coming from? But just to go on some wild chase because somebody said this person said that, and then that person told 2 people, nah, I don't deal with that. We kind of deal with facts, not rumors.
Okay, next question. Let's start with John. Research shows that students who attend school regularly achieve at a higher level. What will you do to promote to parents the importance of school attendance?
School attendance is very important, as long as with parent activity. The more active a parent is in their child's education, statistically, the better the child will do. Attendance, children need to be at school as much as possible. because when you start to fall behind, it's hard to catch up. Parents, I think there's also other incentives that we can possibly put forward to try to make it more applicable for children to come. As far as, maybe trying to give some type, I know, I think one of our schools here recently was giving out, there was talk of wanting to have a prize room, so that if you did well in your attendance or you had good grades, then you were able to get a star where you could go use it in the prize room to be able to get a prize. Simple motivating things like that can really help.
Okay, Richard. What will you do to promote to parents the importance of school attendance?
To sit here and say that I have the answer to an actual answer to say this is what I would do, I don't. But I would be happy to sit down with people, with teachers and administrators and other staff members to have a conversation to figure out what we can do to combat the problem. I don't know what the weeds of all this is, but I know that the governor just allocated $418.3 million from the general fund to fight learning loss and chronic absenteeism. 70% of that's supposed to go to high-dose tutoring. 20% of that is the Virginia Literacy Accreditation Act, and 10% is to fight chronic absenteeism. So, I don't know what down in the weeds of that 10% is, but it definitely sounds good. And if elected, I would definitely be a part of the conversation, do whatever I could to help that.
Okay, Bob, what will you do to promote to parents the importance of school attendance?
Well, probably, in my opinion, academically, it's the hardest issue to deal with. Because I'm going to go out on a limb, and anybody that's listening to this is offended by it, but you know where I live. I think probably 65% of the parents in this county don't care whether their kids go to school or not. That's where their kids get the attitude from. I think we have to convince the parents that it's a serious issue. Parents that live where I live, and I know that they're having issues getting their kids to school, I tell them, give Debbie and I a call. We'll pick them up, take them on the bus. But we do that one time, the kid doesn't want to ride with us, they'd rather get on the bus. There's ways to solve problems, but I don't know if you can say that it pinpoints one cure fits all. I think the parents should be addressed. I think the state of Virginia says if you miss 18 days, you fail the year. Have we ever done that? Have we ever had a kid fail because they missed 18 days? I can find out. I'll ask Ms. Fox tomorrow because that's part of what she's in charge of. We have to convince the parents how important it is to get their kids out of bed and send them to school. What caused this issue was the pandemic, where we suggested they stay home and work on the Chromebooks and do the work at home. Now we've got to convince them differently. I think we have to have a meeting like this with the parents, get them to come and explain it to them. Ask what we can do to help them get their kids to school. The classroom I had, my parents would call me when their kid wouldn't get up, and I'd get them up. Put your hand down, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Richard, what are your budget priorities as a member of the school board?
Well, first and foremost, it's got to be education. The education of the students. I mean, sports is important. Let me say that out there. Sports is very important. But, educating our kids' actual classroom learning is the most important. It's the reason we're here, is to get our kids a quality education and prepare them for post-education, post-high school education, trade school, or the career field. But the most important thing is actually educating our kids. Math, science, reading, English, the core four things of education.
Okay. Bob, as a school board member, what would your budget priorities be?
Well, this is going to kind of sound off the wall. Academics, of course, is my top priority. But athletics fits right in there because with athletics goes attendance. You can't play a sport unless you come to school. And we keep the kids eligible. We got to come up with programs that if a kid has not done work in 3 weeks, the coach finds out about it, takes him off the team for a while, gets the work done, back on the team. We have to come up with a program that's incentive for people to come to school. As I said here before, with all the education I have, I wouldn't have made it through high school if it wasn't for sports. Sports kept me there, kept me occupied, kept me out of trouble. We have coaches here in Alleghany that'll do that. Because I know kids, if it wasn't for sports, they wouldn't be going. So it's very important to me athletically. But I think the guidance department, the teachers, the administration, and the parents have to work together, come up with a plan that keeps the kid in school. Keeps the kid in school. Teachers tell me if they come to school, they're never going to fail. They will never fail. I believe it. I totally believe it. And teachers have a respect for a kid that comes to school and struggles. And they'll help them. Because let's be honest, people, the reason we're here is for the kids. Some will never play football beyond Alleghany, run a race, or anything else. But if we can use that to keep them in the building and keep them happy, I'm happy. Thank you.
John, as a current school board member, what are your budget priorities?
I've been on the budget committee for the school board for last year and this year. Of course, academics is the number one, but what goes with that is teacher pay, making sure the children have the tools they need, books, resources, the smart boards, having good equipment. You know, we need to have good buses to make sure that the children get from A to B. We need to have buildings that have good roofs, because we can't afford to have a school have to shut down because of an issue. Feels very unfortunate that this school had to shut down today because of a water issue. I think it was on out in the system, from my understanding. But there's not one certain thing in the budget that takes it all. I do know that this past year when I was on the budget committee, Rebecca Urban, the finance director, came to me and said, I have 3 different scenarios for pay scales. We had a mild one, a medium one, and a very aggressive higher one. And I told her, if there's any way we can do the high pay, that's what we need to do. I mean, everything's increasing. So it all starts with, or it takes every part of the budget to be able to make a whole system. It's just not one part. Thank you.
Okay, next question. We'll start with Bob on this one. How do you view the importance of standards of learning testing in connection to student promotion and retention?
I'd like to know who wrote that question. I could ask you to leave the room. I don't like the SOLs. I think they're a waste of our time. I don't think we're teaching kids. When you put the SOLs and pacing guides side by side, it guarantees kids are going to fail. Because we're so locked into doing pacing guides and teaching to the test for the SOLs, we forget to teach. I'd like to see SOLs thrown away. I'd like to see us start with kids with where they're at. My wife came up with a wonderful program with JKK, first and second grade, in one hall, teaching only math and reading for the first 4 years. They would all pass those SOLs. I work with kids right now on homebound, none of them can read. They'll never pass an SOL. I'm curious right now how many seniors are at the high school that have got to pass 4 or 5 SOLs to graduate, and I know of at least 2 that haven't passed 1. So why would they come to school? We have to give them hope, and hope to me is making things simple. Making things simple. Don't put your hand up yet. I'm going to leave you a statistic. In 40 years that I've been here, I believe Alleghany County has changed the math curriculum 26 times. Why? Because I always ask people, what's 2 plus 2? 4. What's 2 plus 2? 4. You don't have to change a math curriculum to do that. Teach them where they're at, take them where they want to go. We don't do that very well. We deal with pacing guides that are written by people that aren't in our classroom. And I put that right with No Child Left Behind. All it did is leave them further behind. Let's educate the kids. That's what this is all about, the kids. Thank you.
John, how do you view the importance of standards of learning testing in connection to student promotion and retention?
The standards of learning, they've been around since I was in high school. That's when they first came out. I understand the principle of it, that, we all want to make sure that our children get the education that they need and they deserve. Unfortunately, sometimes, as Bob said, we get a little hard on that. We got to do A, B, C, and D, and we forget about a couple of the other little things. I think that the standards of learning could definitely use some updates to it. I'd like to be able to see teachers be able to use their creativity a little bit more, because we have some great teachers, we really do, and they do a great job. And I think with our creative teachers and their great ways of teaching, that they do a great job. Thank you.
Okay, Richard, how do you view the importance of the standards of learning testing in connection to student promotion and retention?
I mean, I agree with Bob. SOLs, if it would be nice if we could just scrap them all. When I went through I think SOLs came the year after I graduated high school, I think, because I don't remember having to do anything like that. But I think I made it okay. But I think we're stuck with it. There's nothing we can do. I'm pretty sure that those guidelines are set by the Virginia Department of Education. The only thing we can do is just do the best we can with the SOLs, because we can't not do them. I guess we're going to be, we have to do the best we can. And we have, like John said, we have great teachers, and they do the best they can with what they have to work with. I guess that's it. We just have to stick with what we got and work through it.
Okay, thank you. Next question. And John, we're going to start with you. Do you support collective bargaining rights for public school employees? Why or why not?
Could you say it one more time, sir?
Do you support collective bargaining rights for public school employees? Why or why not?
Collective bargaining rights. You have a minute for Google? Yeah, I'm sorry, David, I'm not understanding the question. Can you try to rephrase that for me, please?
I'm assuming they're talking about unionization.
Unionization.
Collective bargaining for the teachers for benefits. And let's go with that.
All right. As far as union benefits for teachers, I think, yes, union benefits for teachers is a good thing somewhat. Our teachers do need benefits. I think their Virginia retirement plan is a great thing for teachers. I think also too some of our health care is the best health care offered in the county, what the school system has. That's it. Thank you.
Richard, do you support collective bargaining rights to negotiate salaries and benefits for public school employees? Why or why not?
So it's frowned upon to ask Siri?
No Siri.
No Siri. I don't know much about unions. I don't know much about it. I guess it would depend on, my wife is in a union, and half the times she hates it, and they don't really do much to help, and the other half, she likes it. So, I guess I would just have to be more educated on unions' part in education, because I just don't know a whole lot about union side of it. I don't.
And Bob, do you support collective bargaining rights for public school employees' salaries and benefits? Why or why not?
Okay, first of all of you, most of you know where I came from. I came from Michigan. When I was there, I was a negotiator for the teachers. If the person that the school board would deal with is trained in collective bargaining, it's a good thing for both parties. Because then, and here I guess it's still the AEA, has a representative that would meet with the school board to talk about salaries and benefits and other things that they would like to see the school system deal with. Yes, I'm all for it, as long as it stays professional and not personal. When you get where I came from, the Teamsters and all those people get involved in it, it became a nightmare. But here I wouldn't see that taking place. It gives the employees a voice with the school board. So yes, I'm 100% for collective bargaining.
Okay, next question. Let's start with Richard on this one. What is your own experience with our schools, and how has it influenced your decision to seek a seat on the school board?
I guess I can start by going back to when I was in school. I come up through the Clifton Forge school system, where it wasn't, they were separate back then. It was Clifton Forge had its own school system, Alleghany County and Covington had their own. Looking at the time, I didn't like school. I showed up a lot. Didn't do very well. I wasn't a great student. I wasn't a horrible one either. But the thing about the teachers stuck by me. They never looked down on me. I got in a lot of fights, lost a lot of fights, won a few. And the teachers, just because I was that kind of kid, the teachers never treated me any different. So I guess from going that far back, I've always had a positive, what's the word I'm looking for? A positive view of their school system, even from back when I was in school. Fast forwarding all the way to when I was on the school board, I came onto the school board the vote after they decided to merge the school system. That's when I come on the school board. And from that moment, it was nothing but welcome. The school members, the administration treated me well. Mr. Callahan was the superintendent at the time. Even through the whole process of hiring a new superintendent, Ms. Halterman, I wasn't a real educated school board member, so I was kind of learning, flying a plane, building a plane as I was flying, because I was still learning. But everybody was just out there, everybody was super nice to me, and it was great.
Okay, Bob, this question's for you. What is your own experience with our schools, and how has it influenced your decision to seek a seat on the school board?
Well, I'm going to answer it in two parts. First part is, when I was in Michigan, I was on the school board for 4 years. And I'll be honest with you, I ran on the school board to get rid of the superintendent because he was terrible. I had 99.8% of the votes. I went to the first school board meeting, the superintendent resigned. Didn't want to deal with me. Here, I've never had that issue. I've dealt with every superintendent that's been here from Mark Pace on because of my involvement with the AEA and being the president and stuff. I love it here. One thing that's here that we don't have in other places, it's safe. One thing that's here we don't have in other places, teachers care about the kids. One thing we have here they don't have in other places is that most people are approachable. If you don't have my phone number, I'll gladly give it to you. You can call and ask me any question you want to ask. You don't have to write it down or anything, just ask. I'll tell you. You may not like the answer. I absolutely love it here. I had 6 kids that went to school here. They all graduated from here. They've all either gone to college or a skilled job. I think our vocational program is top notch. I'd really love to push that vocational program so that 30 or 40% of our kids that go through here have some sort of vocational degree. Because people, as you well know as I do, I can't find a carpenter in this county or a plumber. or an electrician. Yet we have a whole high school full of kids that are probably very skilled at it if we got them to go to the vocational program. Did that even come close to answering the question?
You good.
Thank you.
John, what is your own experience with our schools, and how has it influenced your decision to seek a seat on the school board?
My experience with the school system's been great. I've been in the school systems since I was old enough to go to kindergarten, and all the way through. Been on the school board now for 4 years. Great experience, great people. I feel it's a civic duty of mine to try to have this seat with some of my expertise in engineering and special education. I've also, too, with special education, just recently I got on the State Special Education Advisory Committee to the Department of Education. That's a committee of 23 people across the state that talks directly with the Department of Education on how to improve special education across the state. I was very excited and very happy to be on that board, and I'm really hoping that we can make a difference for special education in our state for that. But we have a great area we live in, great people. There's nowhere else I'd like to be than here. Thank you.
Okay, for our next question, let's start with Bob. What do you believe should be the role of education associations?
Okay. As a school board member, or as a teacher, or as what?
I'm assuming school board member.
Okay. If they're talking about the board, the thing here, the AEA, I think the roles should be very tight together, because I think they work basically hand in hand. As a school board member, I'd like to be able to go to that organization and tell them things that they can do to help us on the school board, and vice versa. I'd like them to be able to come to me and say, Umstead, we don't understand this, can you help us figure this out? Again, I'm going to go back to if you ever hear me talk, 90% of what I talk about is communication. If you don't know, you don't know. And if we find out too late you don't know, you're in trouble. That's our biggest problem here right now, is communication. I think the AEA, if that's what we're talking about, should ask that a school board member come to every one of their meetings and field questions. Not in advance, just whatever question you ask. If you ask me a question I don't know the answer, I'll get back with you. And I'm not going to make up a story. It's just what it is. We've got to have each other's back, because when we're talking about parents and kids, they got us outnumbered. We got to work together to find a way to overcome parents and kids. Because whether they know it or not, they need help. So we can educate them. Thank you.
Okay, John, what do you believe should be the role of education associations?
Education associations, the role of them should be able to work with different school systems to have consistency. The associations need to be working with the parents. This all comes back to, we're all here for the kids, and the kids are here involved. The better we can involve the parents, which typically are the associations, the better off we can be. It just all comes, like Bob said, to communication as well. We got to communicate. Thank you.
Hey, Richard, what do you believe should be the role of education associations?
Can you repeat the question? No. I'm going to go back to the answer that I had about the unions. I don't know anything about the American Education Association, and I guess the thing about me is if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. But I would definitely if somebody were to ask me a question about that like you did, I want to educate myself to find out what they are and what they do and what the benefits and what the cons are. The common sense thing would be to tell you is communication, conversations, parents, students, teachers, staff. As long as the communication window is open, should be a good thing.
Okay, next question. For this one, we'll start with John. What do you believe is the greatest challenge in our school district regarding special education?
Our greatest challenge right now in regards to special education, currently right now it's having teachers. I'm not gonna lie about it. We need more special education teachers. That's why there's a $5,000 incentive for special education teachers. We need to try to attract more special education teachers. Along with special education, I feel that another problem with special education we have right now is communication somewhat, and parent involvement. A lot of people don't know there's a special education advisory committee that's local. That's what I got on the state for the state association. We have quarterly meetings. Would love to have parents, people in the general public come. There's typically not more than 4, maybe 5 parents there typically. I think it all starts with parent involvement. And hopefully we can do things to try to get parents more involved.
Okay, Richard, what do you believe is the greatest challenge in our school district regarding special education?
When I was on the board, which is not that long ago, it was retaining and recruiting teachers for special education. Like John said, I was on the board when we decided to give the incentives. And evidently, if it's still a problem, maybe that's not working. Maybe we need to do more. I don't know what more we can do, because I would venture to say that special education teachers, it's, from what I've spoken to teachers who do teach SPED, it's very taxing, it's hard to, for that population of students, it's hard to educate that population of students. And so to sit here and say, I have a magic ball to tell you what the answer is to how to retain and recruit special ed teachers, I don't, but I'll be happy to sit down with the SPED teachers to find out, if it's not money, what more can we do to help you get to stay a special ed teacher, to retain you, and just see what we can do to meet in the middle, to find a common ground to keep our SPED teachers.
Okay. Bob, what do you believe is the greatest challenge in our school district regarding special education?
Special education itself. Most people don't understand it. Most people don't get it. Most people don't want to do it because it's very taxing. And to add to the taxing of the work and working with the kids, the amount of paperwork you do is unbelievable. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think 4 or 5 special ed teachers just left the county last year. I can probably tell you where they all went because they all called me, told me why they were leaving. I think if there's a comfort zone for people, they'll stay. I think you have to take care of what you got, make sure they're happy, well-fed, and they have direction and help. They had a problem out at Callahan last year. What'd they do? They put a regular ed teacher on the bus to give the kids a ride home. Solved the problem. We have to be very creative when it comes to special ed. Because whether you want to believe it or not, and John will probably tell you this, when it comes to the child of a parent that's special ed, there's a lot of concern there. You should be able to open up your arms and invite them in, wine and dine them, and keep them happy. I don't think we do. I do not think we do. Now, they probably do John because he's on the school board. I could line up a list of parents that could tell you a different story. Special ed is a very, very sensitive topic. Really sensitive with me. And I told you this before, as special ed goes, so goes your school system. As football teams go, so goes the morale of your school system. It's pretty simple. People want to be happy. Just keep the special ed parents happy. Thank you. Sorry I made you get up.
And with that, that brings a close to the question and answer portion of our event this evening. If you'll please give a round of applause for our candidates. On behalf of the Alleghany Highlands Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, I thank you for being here, and I thank those who are watching at home. And again, thanks to Jerry for live broadcasting this. We're getting ready to do our closing statements. When we started, we went alphabetical order. Now, the other night, I went the other direction and have met with various degrees of success. But I'm going to try it again to be fair. So, we're going to start with Bob. Bob, you have 3 minutes to close it out this evening for you.
So if I sit here and stare at him, that's okay?
For 3 minutes, yes, sir.
I can do that if I need to. I think I have a lot to offer to the school board. Whether they want to listen or not, I do not know. But I'm here to tell you this. There are elections over the next 4 years. I'll run every year until I make it. And then the question you're going to ask, I wish you were there sooner. I understand public education. I understand the budgets and finances. I understand curriculum, SOL testing. There's nothing you can trick me on that I don't understand. And the best thing I have to offer is I emphasize, demand communication. I believe our school system would improve immensely if our communication was better. And better and better and better. There were no surprises. I'm going to bring up a sore subject. I don't mean to. If I offend anybody, Debbie will take care of it. They closed Covington for 2 days so they could redo the curriculum for block scheduling. Yet back in the spring, I believe they decided to do block scheduling. So my question is, and no one has to answer it because I already know the answer. How many teachers from CMS here were involved in the discussion of block scheduling for the new Covington CMS? I can tell you, none. If we're going to be successful and we don't communicate, don't get mad because the people you don't communicate with kind of tell you to go certain places. I will help anybody, and I'm going to give you one last thing and then I'm done. My wife and I, neither one of us, with all the help they need, I have never been asked to come and help the school system. My background in special ed, 2 masters and a doctorate degree, I've never been asked to come and help. I want you to think about that and what the reason is why. I appreciate you coming and listening to me. My phone number is 540-958-2980. If you got a problem, call me. You might not like the answer, but you will get an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Richard, you've got 3 minutes.
These 2 gentlemen here, they have degrees, they have fancy degrees from college. I don't. I went the opposite direction. I went straight into the workforce when I graduated high school. I've been in law enforcement for 20 years now. But what I do, and there was a couple questions that Mr. Crozier asked, I didn't know. I don't know about the union, and I didn't know about the American, about really the role of AEA and all that. But I tell you, what I do have that makes up for that is I have heart. And the decisions that are and the topics that are brought up in these school board meetings that have to do with the kids, I can guarantee you that I'll use my heart, and every decision I make will be to put the kids 100% first. And if we're going to put kids 100% first, if kids are 1, teachers have to be 1A. Because the teachers, whether you're special ed, math, English, writing, whatever it is, teachers are the ones that make our education system flow. They're the ones that are in there every day. They're teaching our kids. So we have to have teachers that are taken care of. They're asked what their opinion is. During these last few months, there was teachers that some of them feel, I guess, disenfranchised because after the merger or even during the merger, they felt that they weren't asked what they thought. Maybe their opinion wouldn't have mattered, but some people just like to be heard. I mean, what's your opinion? What do you think? And there's teachers that felt that they weren't even involved in the conversation. As far as budgeting, I was on the school board for a couple years, and it wasn't $47 million back then, but it was a little bit lower. I wasn't on the budget committee, but I remember looking through the budget and trying to digest it. And it's complicated, but I tried. I sat there with Mr. Rice, and we went over it, and I understood it a little bit better. But Tiffany and I, we do a budget. We make it work on a public servant salary and production worker salary. We don't make a lot, but I guess being fiscally conservative, it works. So, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. If I earn your vote November 7th, I promise I will show up to every board meeting possible. I promise to attend extracurricular activities and be involved in our school system. I promise to take your questions. I'll answer them honestly. And we may disagree, but I guarantee I'll hear you. I will listen and I'll hear you, and you'll get a heartfelt answer. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Mr. Crozier. Thank you for making sure the public is informed before they vote. Thank you. God bless.
And you mentioned your family, so you're good.
I get to sleep inside tonight.
John?
I don't want to forget my family as well. I appreciate my wife for coming with me tonight. And my son is with my mother. But I just want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to be here, the opportunity to be here for the past year. Hopefully I've been able to make a positive influence on people the past couple of years I've been here. I know a lot of times I'm not a very outspoken person. I can be kind of a quiet person. But a wise man once told me, you learn a lot more by listening than you do by talking. I'm always open to teachers, parents. I wish more parents and teachers would call me with any issues. But at the same time, too, I know last night I was on the phone with a teacher for an hour talking to them about some issues, and they told me, well, I've never reached out to you because I was worried I was going to be reprimanded from somebody else. And I told them, I said, if you are, please come tell me, because I want to make sure that doesn't happen. We need to all be one big family, work together. We're all here for the same reason. We want our children to succeed. We want to give them the best tools possible to be able to succeed. I think we live in one of the greatest places in the world, in the country. There's no place I'd rather be than here. I've traveled the country when I was younger, before my wife and I, we did some traveling before our son was born. And we used to do some cross-country trips and visit a lot of places, and there's no place quite as good as this. Everyone's friendly, great people. We live in a great area. And if you elect me coming up, I will continue to serve to my best abilities. Hopefully I can help with my engineering expertise to hopefully save taxpayers' money on projects, on things being spent, just like, for example, the track project that was going on. The original drawings that came out for that was to take all of the sod off the field and then replace it with sod. No elevation changes, nothing of that nature. Sod, to buy a new sod, it's about $4 a square foot. It'd been $250,000 to resod that. Is it worth spending $250,000 on regrassing the field? I mean, it would have been pretty, but at the same time, too, bus drivers could use that money, teachers could use the money, our children could use better equipment, better tools to be able to use to be able to give them everything they need. I started this for the kids. I'll always be there for the kids. I always support my teachers. I always have their back. So please reach out to me anytime. And thank everybody.
Gentlemen, thank you. And for those watching and here, no matter who you vote for, November 7th, go out and vote. Stay around afterwards, speak to these gentlemen, ask questions, and with that, this forum is closed out. Thank you.
Hey, you're-
Good job, fellas.
Disappointed we're not playing?
No. There's still time. Good job. The only thing I wish is my daughter would have had you with special ed.
A lot of people tell me that.
Yeah.
What my wish was, you ought to be.
Oh, she needed to be, but Covington was less than, yeah. I've heard a lot of good things about you on that, and I have to think when you were talking that.
It's only about 25 minutes.
Oh, I drank some. Oh, yeah. Oh, Bonnie Carey. Richard, you did great, buddy.